Don't know about this color. Better, but yeah, not quite. There we go. Perfect. Hello and welcome to my porch. My name is Roy. I'm a home cook, amateur baker, and I am here on this channel typically sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Now, as you can tell, it's not a recipe today. It is a no tag. This is No Tag Tuesday. And I do apologize for missing out on last week's questions. But as I said, Paul and I came down with a very nasty stomach bug. It lasted for a few days and I couldn't even get a recipe out last week. So I did put a poll in the community page of what people wanted me to make for Friday. And it's going to end at some point today, Tuesday. So you may still have a chance to go vote on your choice of what I make this week. But Paul did suggest that I tack on the questions from last week. My answers will be at the end of this video if anyone wants to stick around for a few extra questions. I will try to rush through them, but you know how I can be. So you get what you get. But let us start with this week's questions, which come from Sandy over at Life with Sandy. She came up with family-related questions, and I didn't really look at them until just before starting to record, so I don't know what my answers are going to be, but it is what it is. Number one, which family member is the best cook, worst cook, but they try, or do they? I would have to say of my immediate family, I would probably be the best cook. My siblings don't really cook much, and I'm not sure who would be the worst. I mean, I really haven't eaten anything necessarily that they've prepared, because anytime we've done anything, had a gathering, a lot of times they were catered or somebody else did the cooking or what have you. So I'm not sure I can really say who the worst one is. I'd have to say it's probably a tie for my brother and sister, Dan and Kelly. Although I think Kelly cooks a little bit less than Dan. So maybe Kelly? I don't know. I just know I'm the best, and that's all that matters, really. Number two, what is your favorite story about your grandparents? I guess, I mean, I don't really have a lot of stories about my grandparents, but I think one of them that I like the most, which I've mentioned on this channel before, was I threw myself a birthday party one year that was Alice in Wonderland themed, and everyone had to come as a character from Alice in Wonderland. And my grandmother, even though it was kind of outside of her comfort zone, participated in some of the games. Like I did a Let's Make a Deal game, and I believe she won some pink panties with a little bunny cottontail sewn on. And she thought that was hysterical. She really had fun participating. So I guess that'd probably be my favorite. Three, what was it like growing up being the oldest, youngest, middle, or only child? I am the oldest of 5, and I kind of had to take on some of the responsibility for my younger siblings. especially after my parents got divorced. So more and more fell on me to take care of the younger ones, kind of. So, I mean, it was kind of pressure to look out for them, but for the most part, they did their own thing. So was it really? Probably more that I put on myself than anyone put on me, but I don't know. I mean, it was what it was. I liked being the oldest. I don't know that, I don't know anything different, so I don't know what to compare it to. I mean, I know my sister, who was the youngest, was babied. She was my mother's little companion, and the boys, who were all older, catered to her every whim, and still do sometimes. But so that, I mean, that's really the only comparison I have. I don't know any different. It was what it was. Probably sounds like a cop-out answer, but it was fine. I don't mind it. I don't know what to say about it. Number 4, what TV family reminds you of your family? None. I can't think of any family that I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of like us. Now see, because I didn't have a chance to go over these with Paul, he'll probably say, oh, this is what you should have said, and come up with something that will dawn on me, and I'll be like, and if he does come up with something, I'll insert it here. But personally, I can't think of any family that makes me think of my family. Number 5, what personality traits do you share with your family? First of all, I need to point out, and if I did not point this out, she would be heartbroken, I'm sure. But Sandy, it's what personality traits, not what personally traits. And if I didn't give her crap for that, she would not think I cared. What personality traits do you share with your family? I honestly don't think any that I can think of. I mean, we're all very different. And again, this will be one that Paul will say, oh, you should have said this. Yeah, I don't think I have anything in common. I'm very frugal. My sister Kelly is frugal, but overall as a family. 6, how did your grandparents meet? I do not remember. I know my father was much older than my mother, 7 years. And they met when she was like 17, so my father was 24. But how exactly they met, I don't remember. And I don't think I ever knew how my grandparents met. Number 7, what is your favorite childhood memory with family? Vacation, holiday, birthday, time with a relative. I can't wait to see Kim's responses to these questions, because I'm sure she's having as much, if not more, trouble than I am. One thing that for some reason sticks in my mind, when we used to travel to go to the reservation that I belong to in Maine, I'm a member of the Passamaquoddy tribe. When we used to go there for the summer, there were these little cabins that we would stop at all along the way. And for some reason, those little cabins always fascinated me. They weren't anything great. They were like little tiny buildings. But for some reason, I have a fond memory of them. I don't know specifically why, but maybe it was the travel. I don't know. Yeah, that's all I can think of at the moment, and I'm not going to spend too much time dwelling on it. Number 8, other than your significant other, which family member do you trust and confide in the most? Both my brother and sister, Dan and Kelly again. Those would be the 2. It used to be my mother until she passed. So yeah, I guess I'd have to say my brother and sister, Dan and Kelly. I can't pick one over the other, even though they'll, I'm sure, fight over the title. I can't. And I do have to point out that in that question, other than your significant other, it should have been T-H-A-N, Sandy, not T-H-E-N. That shows how much I care. Number 9, which family member had the biggest impact on your life growing up? I would have to say my immediate thought is my mother, because she raised us. And I still think for the most part that is true, but my father's absence actually made a big impact as well. So I think, honestly, combined, they both had the great, I would have to say my mother overall, but I honestly think my father, being an alcoholic, being kind of out of the picture most of the time, affected me in my relationships, where I would go after men who were unattainable or distant, or I was too clingy for them because I was always afraid they weren't going to be there. So in personal relationships, I would have to say my father. But overall, in the grand scheme of my life, I would have to say my mother. And number 10, have you ever mapped out your family tree? Off and on throughout the years, we've worked on my family tree. We've done some of that Ancestry.com. Paul was doing his genealogy for a while and then started working on mine, building off of what I already had from my grandmother, from my aunt. And he managed to go back, I want to say 14 generations, to like French and English royalty, at least French royalty. Hence the name Roy, which in French does mean king. But yeah, we have worked on it. It's not completely mapped out. But yeah, we've done some work on a family tree. And those are the questions for this week from Sandy over at Life with Sandy. Now, if you want to stick around, I'm going to answer the questions from last week that I was too sick for at the time. Number 1, these questions came from Jen and Steve over at Embracing Chaos with Jen, and I will try to quickly go through them. Weirdest thing you ever ate? Alligator. I had, when I worked at Mohegan Sun Casino, they had an employee appreciation, and they had all different types of cuisines from all over, and I did try the alligator stew. I don't remember it necessarily being appealing, but I don't remember it not being appealing, so I don't really remember it, is what I'm saying. Number 2, weirdest place you've ever been? Besides the in-between, where I was stuck a few weeks back, the only weird place, and it's not even weird, it's just when we went to Ireland, Paul and I, my brother Dan and my mother, years ago, probably 18 years ago, Paul and I went out to a pub, and people would just wander in with their instruments and start playing, and just like a community thing. And it wasn't like a weird place to be. It was just a weird experience to have, because we're so unaccustomed to that here, that people would just come in casually, just start playing, come in and join in to whatever was going on. It was very cool. We loved it. But definitely a weird experience. I don't think it's the weirdest place. Maybe kissing the Blarney Stone. I guess. I don't know. 3, weirdest movie you've watched? My first thought, and it's only a vague memory, was this movie called Donnie Darko, which had something to do with this rabbit, guy in a rabbit suit or something. I don't even remember. But then it dawned on me the weirdest movie I've ever seen was Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. I think at the time when it first came out, I want to say it was Santa Claus versus the Martians. But when I've looked it up, it comes up as Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. So I'm going to go with that. So bizarre. I watched it. I have a duck flying by. Yeah, weirdest movie. I went back and looked at it because it was a childhood favorite. And I said, oh, let me go check this out. Weird. Very weird. Number 4, what's one weird trait that you have? See, I don't know. Personality trait? I don't know that I have a weird personality trait. I mean, I am weird overall. But I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, and it's not a personality trait, it's just a weird thing that I do, is I have to count all the time. And I don't know if it's my OCD, my ADD, or what it is. But like if I'm, say, whisking something, I have to count how many whisks. It doesn't matter. But in my head, I find myself counting. If I have to do anything that is repetitive, I will mentally count whatever is happening. Okay, I am inserting myself here because I gave Sandy so much crap about her misspellings that I think she cursed me because I missed a question. And that is a very Sandy and Jimmy thing to do. I usually don't do that. So I did miss a question from last week's weird tag. So, what's the weirdest thing you've ever done? Now, I wasn't sure what this would be until I saw Kim's video last week, where she was talking about wanting to get a cast so she would throw herself over. And that made me think of one of the weirdest things. I don't know why I did it, except for attention, I assume. But I was in grade school. We were out in the playground. I was by myself doing my own thing, standing on a bench around a tree. And then I remember looking up and seeing a caterpillar. And I don't know if the caterpillar dropped or whatever, but I suddenly made a gagging sound and was spitting out. And I pretended that the caterpillar fell into my mouth and I swallowed it. I have no idea why, except, like I said, to get attention. A few years later, we each made a little book for signatures when we went up to middle school. And I do remember that someone, a girl that I knew, put in the signature book to Roy, the boy who swallowed a caterpillar. I don't know why I did it. I mean, I didn't really do it, but I don't know why I pretended to do it. Now I've inserted myself, corrected my faux pas, so back to the original video. What's your favorite weird song? Mine would be the Barbie song, Come on Barbie, Let's Go Party. I think that's the weirdest song I can think of. 7, what's your favorite weird but possibly true story? Mine would be ghosts, I assume. I have had encounters, even though Paul does not believe me. I mentioned one previously where I was staying at a friend's house in Rhode Island, and I was up late watching TV, and I felt somebody behind me. So I turned, and there was like this little old lady in the doorway. And she was just watching me, and I said, oh, hi, I'm just visiting Nancy, just what have you. And then I turned away and looked back, and she was gone. So the next morning, when I got up and I said to Nancy, I said, oh, I had a little encounter last night. And she goes, oh, did you meet the old lady? So you don't think there are ghosts? That's corroboration for me. Number 8, who's considered the weirdest person in your family? Right now, living, I'd have to say it's me. But if we can go back in time a bit, my grandmother on my father's side was a very peculiar. She definitely had some quirks. She was very passive aggressive, I guess. She wasn't fond of my mother. And so she would send us, like, she would crochet us mittens as gifts for Christmas, but they had no thumbs. So it was like a little passive aggressive, like, here, I made something, not that you can really use it. And then we went to visit my father, my brother Dan and I believe. I don't think it was Tom, I think it was Dan. Went to visit her with my father one year. She was living in Vermont. And my father had given me some of his old books, like Nancy Drew books and things like that. She ended up writing to an older cousin of mine who I was close with and complaining that we had stolen things from her house. She was very bizarre. But now, I'm the weird one. Number 9, what's the weirdest habit you have? I'd have to go back to the counting at first, but then Paul had reminded me, it's gotten better. I did go to and I've mentioned this previously, like in my introduction video, over a year ago now, that I had gone to a hypnotist to try to help me lose weight and also to help me with my anxiety, because I would constantly be rubbing like that because it would like get it out of my body. So I don't do that anymore. And then another thing he'd suggested was from working at the casino, you have to clear your hands so the cameras can see you're not pocketing anything. So I would always, when I go to the store, when I put something in a drawer in the kitchen, I'd always be like showing my hands for quite a while. That lasted. It's gone now. And the rubbing is mostly gone, except if I get very tired or anxious, that helps to get it out. But I guess I'd have to go back to the counting, which is much more consistent. So I guess I didn't really answer the trait question, but it is what it is. And the last one, what's your favorite weird pastime, festival, sport, etc.? I don't really have one. I used to crochet, and one of the things that I learned to crochet were little bears. I'd have to crochet each foot, crochet each arm, crochet the body, crochet the head, crochet the ears. Then I would make little clothes for them, and I would give these away as gifts. One, I remember laying out some string and gluing it and coloring it, making it look like a spiky mohawk and putting that through the head of one of the bears. So I don't do that anymore. That's been ages. But that's like the weirdest pastime that I can think that I've ever had. Unless you consider playing an online role-playing game, EverQuest 2, sorry Jay and Michelle, it's not WoW. As weird, I still do that on occasion, although not as frequently as I did for a while. But yeah, I'm gonna have to stick with the crocheted bears. Anyway, that probably wasn't as short as it should have been, but if you wanted to stick around for those responses, you got a double whammy this week. And again, those weird questions came from Jen and Steve over at Embracing Chaos with Jen. And next week, I do not recall who is doing the questions. I just received the schedule and I haven't really kind of gotten myself back into the swing of things after being laid out with my illness. But somebody is doing questions for next week, and I will very likely be here to do them. Fingers crossed. But if you liked this video, I appreciate a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't and you're looking for recipes that can help you on a weight loss journey. Share any of my videos if you think someone would appreciate the content, and hit the notification bell for the next time I upload any sort of video. And the links to all the other channels doing the questions, as well as the questions themselves, will be down in the description box if you'd like to answer them and check out the other channels that are doing the tags. Also down there you will find my social media. Here is my Instagram handle, and there are 2 Facebook groups that I'm part of. One is mine, Recipes with Roy. The other one is Finding Our Way, WEIGH, and that one I co-admin with Jennifer Lynn from the Jennifer Lynn channel, as well as Bree Coleman from Balancing Life with Bree. So join us over there for lots of great tips, tricks, recipe support, and people. And if there's still time, if you're watching this on Tuesday, vote on my community page for which recipe you want to see on Friday. As of this recording, the coconut cream and banana cream pies are winning, edging out the banana nut muffins. So if you want to vote, you still have a short time to do so, because probably like 6 o'clock tonight, just to make sure I have time to actually get the ingredients and film it, will be the end of the voting. But that wraps up this tag, and this has gone on way too long. So until next time, bye.